governor be this way. Talk and say, now our governor be this way. Now our governor be this way. We don't get another one. Now our governor be this way. 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 We know better another one. Now our governor be this way. Now our governor be this way. We know better another one. Now our governor be this way. Now our governor be this way. Now our governor be this way. Okay, yes. Fellow Nigerians, greetings to you or wherever you're joining us from. Please, this is the Comrade Show. Please, if you are there, share this broadcast if you could. I appreciate that. Well, the news is that Supreme Court of Nigeria, the Supreme Court of Nigeria, has affirmed the election of Senator Okpebholo as the governor of Edo State today. And as a fallout of that, there's been a lot, going on around the state. I've been monitoring the situation all across. And of course, a lot of people are expressing happiness. There are others that are very unhappy. Those state people are very divided as we speak following this judgment. I've looked at all of the things around and I thought that, yes, it is essential that, I speak up on, some observations. Of course, what you've just watched are some of the, excitement being expressed by those in the camp of Okpebholo. And of course, Okpebholo himself, of course, expressing joy, singing praises to God Almighty. And that is happening across, every group and individuals that, of course, support Senator Okpebholo. While those on the other side, talking about the Asue, they are crying foul. They are weeping. They are expressing unhappiness, and of course, that is has occasioned another level of division in the states. That said, I thought that I would come out tonight to look at some of these issues. Why we have excitement on one side and of course gloom on another side by those state people following the 2024 governorship election, and of course the Supreme Court judgment that today affirmed Okpebholo's election as the governor of Edo State. A few things caught my attention. Today, I have also read a statement released by Governor Obaseki, and I thought that the statement by Governor Obaseki is very instructive. And I'm going to like to talk about that. Asue himself equally released a statement today following the judgment and all of that. Let's be reminded, Governor Obaseki was the immediate past governor of Edo State. He governed Edo State for 8 years. For me, people would expect that I'm going to start with a congratulatory message to Governor, Okpebholo. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that. I couldn't do that because when I look back at what we experienced in the governorship election of 2024, I think that for those celebrating and congratulating this process, as well as those that are mourning, disenchanted over the outcome of this Supreme Court judgment, I think that as a those state people, we need to go into very serious, sober reflection, because what is happening right now is the Supreme Court, affirming and legalizing a high level of illegality. Now, don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. It is not just illegality on Monday Okpebholo's election. It is illegality characterizing the entire process in itself. Now, so that's what I'm not particular right now about Monday Okpebholo. I'm particular about a systemic failure that is being normalized as far as Nigeria is concerned, as far as the Edo State is concerned. Now, why some people right now are jubilating, I am weeping in my mind. I am weeping because, we are going deeper into, a political ditch that definitely, is going to, eventually sink the entire fabric of our society. Now, why did I say that? Yesterday, I had the privilege of having, a very long discussion with a chieftain of a major political party in Nigeria. And we were talking about a Edo State election, particularly following the expectation that the Supreme Court judgment was going to be, today. And he was on ground. He was a major, he's a major player. He's still very much a major player. I did say that I'm going to, talk about some of these we talked about. And he told me some of the things he experienced, because he was there from the very beginning to the end. You understand what I'm saying now? And what he told me was that everybody, was ready to rig, all others in this election. As a matter of fact, he was emphatic, when he told me, he said, in this election, I did ask him, I said, who truly won this election? And he told me that he's not a PDP member. As a matter of fact, he's a member of the APC. He told me, he said, comrade, between you and I, if we want to go by, whom the people actually voted for in the majority, he said, Asue won the election. Now, he fought even that. He said, because what happened in the election, I'm quoting him now. He said, what happened in the election, according to him, was that the PDP started the election way before others came. And the PDP had a very superlative campaign. The PDP, got themselves warmed into the people's heart, over a year, even before the electoral process started. So as a matter of fact, whether, a coercion by way of bribing or whatever it is, that a lot of people actually voted for Asue, irrespective of what they are getting from other political parties. And that the APC, okay, because money did not come in time, okay, started the game a bit late. On the day of election, according to him, the APC has outspent everybody. That when it was getting to the dying minute, APC discovered, even having spent so much, according to this shifting, they were still not going to win the election. So they now resorted to another plan, which was, according to this chieftain, which was to quickly engage, the INEC and all of the, structures in place to, come out with the final results. And at the end of the day, a lot of manipulations took place that became evil evident because they were hurriedly done. They were not planned, ahead, way ahead of time. They all came within, the last hour because there was an instruction that, the APC candidates must, at all costs, become the governor of Edo State. It doesn't really matter whatever was going to happen. Now, I cannot independently verify, a lot of these things. But there were some things that we saw. And we saw a process that was hugely mad. Okay? Now, I am not saying this, to denigrate, Monday Okpebholo, or to say that it's not supposed to be the one sat there. I think what I'm trying to say is that everybody in this process contributed one way or the other, wrongly. They contributed to ensuring that we have a system like this that will continually be mad. So at the end of the day, it is the one who appears to be ahead of others in the illegalities that were put in place, that is sat there at the moment. And the judiciary has not, heard. They've had to actually entrench a process like this. Now, why I talk about this process and what the political parties, APC, PDP, and others did to this process, the people who are most culpable in all of these are the Edo State people, the electorate. Now, I've seen lots of videos of young people expressing happiness and satisfaction, jubilating, and every other thing. While I'm watching some of these clips, I am honestly saddened in my heart because the level of ignorance being feigned by our people, it's dangerously alarming. You understand what I'm saying? It makes me weep in my heart. The reason is because everything that is termed legal, as far as our electoral process is concerned, is thrown overboard. It's, as a matter of fact, holds no water. And we are all part of the process. And so, if Monday Okpebholo decides to govern Edo State as he chooses without being answerable to anybody, he is assured that he's going to win again. And when I was listening to the deputy governor of Edo State after the judgment earlier today, he expressed satisfaction over the judgment, and he went ahead. This is also being rekindled by all members of the Okpebholo's administration. He went ahead to say that the next step now is to come back home to start entrenching Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the next president of Nigeria come 2027. For me, what that suggested to me, everywhere I've listened to that from every source, what that suggested to me was that, well, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, you have done yours to keep us in office. So it is our turn now to reciprocate. And when these politicians are sounding like this, they are sounding like this not because they are believing in a free, fair, credible process, but because they are trying to muzzle everything they could to ensure that the electoral process remain the way it is. And as this continues, it will eventually culminate to leading to voter apathy, people being not interested, that narrative of our vote no count, why am I going to waste my time become what is characterizing a lot of people's mind. Why? So for many others, it is their own time to cash out. And the question I want to ask today is, for people who collected money from from PDP agents and officials, from APC and all of that, 100,000, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, today, I would be surprised if you guys still have a penny of what you collected in the course of the election, if you still have anything with you. Now, the reason why I say this is that I've also seen in recent time a barrage of, I don't know, lots of those state people criticizing Governor, Mondo Okpebholo. And the question I ask myself is, what local standing does anybody have now? What right does anybody have to criticize a government, okay, that your vote did not count towards its emergence? Now, I'm not saying this because of Okpebholo. If it were Asue Udalo was sat here, I'm also going to be saying the same thing. Because at the end of the day, if Asue had been the one pronounced the governor of Edo State, it also would have still been the same thing that I'm talking about right now, which characterized the entire process. APC rigged massively, changed figures massively. The PDP rigged as well, but I cannot tell if they changed figures. But I'm not sure they did, because they didn't have the power to change figures. But if you want to talk of, I mean, this is evident, if it was to be a free, fair process, I am sure that the person who was really going to command most of the votes, given the effort the candidates had put in the election, probably would have been Asue Udalo. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, this is without sentiment, but this is where our election has brought us, and this gives me a lot of sleepless nights looking at the future of our state, the future elections, because at the end of the day, it is whoever is sat as president, whoever he anoints to be the governor of Edo State, that is the person who's going to become the governor of Edo State, irrespective of whatever any other person does. And at the end of the day, when it is like that, the process is never going to give Edo State people the most qualified, because all people will just do is to fight to get a ticket under a certain political party, which have, the ruling, president as a member of their party. And that's it. I bet that if it was, what's his name, a PDP president that we have, there is no way this conversation will be taking place right now. What's his name? Asue probably would have been the governor of Edo State as we speak. Now, this begs the question, Apostle Paul, where shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Are we going to continue like this? Because whether we like it or not, the biggest fallout of our electoral process is what we are getting right now. Lack of anything that we are supposed to have. No good roads, no health care, nothing, no shelter. Out of school children, they are multiplied by the day. As a matter of fact, nothing to write home about. But when you look at the last 10 years to 20 years, and they give you the figure of, the amount of money that has entered Edo State, okay, to be used by sitting governors of Edo State to better the lives of Edo State people, you will be amazed. In the last 20 years, if what has come into Edo State have been used judiciously, there is no way today we'll be talking about erosion. We'll be talking about lack of affordable health care. We'll be talking about lack of good roads. Apparently, majority of the resources of the people has gone into private pockets, midwife by governors that emerged through a process that contravenes all sense of legality. And while we point fingers at the people who are sat as governors, local government chairmen, this, that, we also refuse somehow to point fingers at ourselves. And at the end of the day, we are the ones, those state people, that have occasioned what we are getting right now. We are as good as the kind of government we give to ourselves, either by omission or commission. And that's exactly what we are getting right now. So at the end of the day, when we congratulate Okpebholo for the victory at the level of the Supreme Court, that congratulation is actually congratulation to illegality. There's not a personal, it's not a personal thing between me and Okpebholo. You understand what I'm saying? But it is very personal with the process that we have entrenched, the process that we are worshiping. Today, I saw a lot of young people across different videos. You can see this. Jubilating, expressing joy and satisfaction over the election of, the Supreme Court judgment. You understand? And while this is happening, everybody seems to have forgotten how we got here. But some of us will not forget. So at the end of the day, okay, what we have right now is what we, each of us collectively, have put in place. And at the end of the day, we have no right, I dare say, to question why this or why that. Unless and until each and every one of us begin to, take a look at ourselves and ask ourselves the right questions. In what way am I contributing to, illegality as far as our own election is concerned? As far as our elections are concerned, in what way am I contributing to making the process mad? I think that instead of congratulations or weeping, as the case may be, that we need to look inwards. Now, looking inwards, I was very fascinated to see Governor Obaseki's statement, and I'm going to put it up. Obaseki released the statement, and it's quite viral now. And I was fascinated. I don't know if you could see a statement by HE Governor Obaseki on Supreme Court ruling. I am profoundly grateful to the people of Edo State and Nigerians for their overwhelming support for the victory, which we believed our party, the People's Democratic Party, candidate, Dr. Asue and his running mate, Osarodion Ogi, won in the Edo governorship election, which took place on September 21st, 2024. It is based on this conviction and our belief that the results were manipulated, that we took steps to seek legal redress, beginning with the Election Petition Tribunal, and then the Court of Appeal, and finally the Supreme Court. But unfortunately, and most surprisingly, all the courts have ruled against us. Although we strongly disagree with the decision of the Supreme Court, but as adherents to the rule of law, we are bound by their verdicts. Now, this is a statement by Obaseki. Of course, it goes on to, I don't want to read the other parts, but this is the part I want to actually talk about. Now, when I saw this, I was taken aback. The reason is because sometimes when we have climbed the high horse, we do not, have the sense to feel, or we deliberately refuse to put ourselves in the shoes of the others who are not riding on high horses, as it were. Now, as some people may, celebrate Obaseki, or others may vilify him, as the case may be, I think it's instructive to know that Obaseki was the governor of Edo State for 8 years. I'm being very objective here. Because that's why I asked the question earlier. I said, man, look, what role have we played, each of us, to bring us where we are right now? Obaseki was governor of Edo State for 8 years. Obaseki midwifed some local elections, including House of Assembly election and local government election. As a governor of Edo State, without having anything to do with the national INEC, but Edo State Electoral, Commission, NSEC they call it, under the purview of Governor Godwin Obaseki. Now, I had vested interest in some of those elections. And my interest was that because they were being midwife by Governor Obaseki, at least for once, I had the belief that we have a governor who was irrespective, who was going to give Edo State people a free, fair, credible election. But for people who are honest, even if you are PDP members, who are honest, many of them would agree, even if they don't come out publicly, but they will agree in their own, whatever conscience they have. They would agree that the local government elections organized by Obaseki and the House of Assembly election organized by Obaseki, they were hugely flawed in desperation to ensure that PDP candidates won all the seats and all the chairmanship position. I mean, this is there are people who are living witnesses who can still testify to all of these things, how the elections were manipulated. As a matter of fact, one of the last ones, in a local government, the one that produced this girl at the House of Assembly, this Natasha Osawaro. I look at her now, man. She's trending because of her relationship with what is our music star. And I look at her and I say, man, look, somehow I just like, this is what Obaseki gave to Edo State people. Even when there was this, Hendrik was this guy's name also who contested, and that boy clearly won that election. At the end of the day, under the purview of Obaseki, instruction from above, they turned everything around and made sure that it was Natasha Osawaro who was giving that ticket. And that was a similar story across everywhere. And Governor Obaseki, my friend, after this whole mismanagement of the process, deliberately went to church to go and give thanksgiving for conducting a perfect election. That's Obaseki when he was sat there on the high horse as the governor of Edo State. Obaseki, it's one of my grasps with the governor, with former governor. Obaseki could not, at least, knowing how turbulent our terrain has been, and with the opportunity as had, could not at least say, man, look, let us lead by example. Let us give Edo State people in their local elections a free, fair, credible election. As a matter of fact, if he had done that, even if PDP won few seats and other people were popular that were not PDP members who probably could have won their seats or won their local government. If Obaseki had allowed a free hand, he probably would have been a bigger hero today across most Edolites than he is right now. But Obaseki manipulated the elections at his own interest. There are judges, or there were nominated judges that were supposed to be appointed by Obaseki to occupy their university. For whatever personal interest or whatever it was, Obaseki refused to appoint those judges. So they were under Obaseki, the level of carryover of justice was just too much. And all of these things just to serve a personal interest. So it has never been service for the glory of service. I've always talked about this. It has never been. Now, there is no way. I mean, some of us expected that change was not going to come from up downwards, but was going to come from down upwards. But we failed at that level. And so when it was time for these APC people to start paying back, giving some of these things, they applied a lot of desperation to subvert the process, whether we like it or not. This election that has produced Okpebholo was an election that was subverted. The will of the people, It's not, of course, upheld. I mean, this is the absolute truth. So I'm mentioning, Governor Obaseki because he himself also contributed immensely to what we have now. We've had it, not to this degree, but as governor for 8 years, he had a chance under his watch to start teaching us a different kind of political culture. To say, look, the people's will has to be supreme all the time. And probably that, if he had sown that seed, and those people today probably would have, regenerated their minds. And probably the outcome of this election would have been a lot different. Because people would have been reasonably educated, taught the lesson of saying, look, it is your vote that matters. But now, the average Edo State man, the average Nigerian, believes that in an election, his own vote doesn't count. And that itself is a huge danger to society. It means that continuously, election like governorship election and every other thing will only be determined, by the powers that be, not by the will of the people. That no matter how popular somebody may be, no matter how trusted, no matter how much integrity that person may have, if certain powers that be do not say, we anoint you, if certain human beings don't spend money to blindfold the people, then the beautiful ones will never be born. Obaseki, in his second term, was a beautiful one when he was being elected. But when he started his governance, some of those things that directly impact on the people that would have probably repositioned the people's mind towards things like these that are so integral to the development of our people, he failed to deliver on those things. And so, for some of us who, I'm not there anybody knows, you understand what I'm saying now? So someone became very disappointed and highly critical. Because at some stage, I told the government himself, in the good old days, I said, look, why can't you, or why don't you govern Edo State like an independent state from Nigeria? Use us, use Edo State people to make Edo State different from all other parts of Nigeria. With our resources, with our agile, with our everything. And the only way that can happen is if you have somebody governing the state for the glory of it, not for any self-serving purpose. And putting the people first, putting them in the heart of everything. But when you fail as a governor in that fundamental assignment, and you expect that a thing like that will not happen against you when you have, you have come down from your high horse, and you not cry foul with statements like this and expect the whole world to, to take you seriously. It's very hard, because you cannot extricate yourself from what we have right now. What we have right now, we had it to a reasonable extent. You came, you had a chance to change it. I remember this man, Yaradua, when he was elected president, one of the first statements he made was that he said the election that brought in, and made him president was a flawed election. And one of the things he was going to tackle was to ensure that future elections in Nigeria will be credible elections. Unfortunately, the man died, on our wall. And I would be here, what he would have done. But people actually believed that not tiny he was going to and probably the passing of Yaradua probably is what just changed the trajectory of the Nigerian political history today. That when you look at it right now, the leader I spoke with yesterday, away, comrade, away, there is no pathway. Away pathway, there is no pathway. There is no pathway. Now, Asue also released a statement. You know, that's Asue's statement. Our final statement on the Supreme Court judgment. On our Torre, almost echoing the same thing there. No one of Torre Obaseki. And when I read Asue's statement, I asked myself, should I feel pity for Asue? Is Asue a victim of the system? Or Asue himself played his role to making this system that we have right now more formidable? The truth is, a part of me feels pity for him because he now stands in a position of being the governor we never had. A part of me feels that pity for him. But holistically, it will be the soon. Understand even no help to entrench this system that we have right now. Because at the end of the day, you understand even for a processing was in fact too much. The desperation, the everything, and had to put it here together. Or boom, it was too much. So the fundamental question is, we have a very bad system in place. Who is to blame? Who takes the most blame? I can tell you for free. It is not Governor Obaseki. It is not Okpebholo. It is not Asue. It is not anybody knowing there when I contest election. The person who takes the most blame is you, no worry mena. He no be mena. Why no worry mena? So long as you are in Nigeria, so long as you are an Edo State indigene, you take a huge chunk of the blame. You who goes to the poll, here election, your interest is no suobo. You are not really keen on you are not even bothered. What you were where anybody now elected name is somebody now with destiny where we hear your ball. Whether you guys like it or not, even know like those states, in the last 30 years, or send those states you have developed itself, maybe in Dubai, and I give away aluoni say, but most of Avigoni, they are in private pockets. It's so woozy in Avigoni. It's so weird banks abroad everywhere. It's exactly what's happening right now. Exactly what is happening right now. So at the end of the day, I honestly don't see any reason, not making sense for anybody to celebrate where a court Okpebholo as the winner of the election. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like, that's why I celebrate. It doesn't also make sense that I think that everybody should soberly reflect and probably begin to think of what should we do now near where area said 2028. Matter a credible person or I follow a way of bribing, I follow a way of manipulation. I go so Moses in I go so with all kinds of things in there. But look at where we are. Some of you who did all of those heinous things to ensure where I produce a particular candidate as governor. Some of you also did it for the opposition for different people. Some of you, everywhere you are, they will pass because we're in proper medical attention. Some of you, because of a man, a two-way accident in a liver. But when you wire where data don't look niji, here they okay. Why accident no sununi, sunu. And the only way now why they are available, the only way they can actually be available is when your vote actually becomes the power to determine who is a local government chairman, who is a governor, who is that. When if your vote cannot determine that, then you don't have any local standing to determine or to question whatever happens to you. So Okpebholo should go and enjoy his time for the next 4 years. But that those two people have a responsibility. They have a duty to tell themselves that shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Shall we continue like this and believe that we are going to have good medical care? We are going to have good schools? We are going to have, the things that we yearn for that government can provide? I leave that question for each and every one of us to answer. For this process, it is a sad day. It's a sad day. Even if the Supreme Court had pronounced Asue Udalo as the winner of the election, it still would be a sad day. Because at the end of the day, anybody who sat there at matter. My query is where we had a process that was hugely flawed. A process that was stolen. A process that betrayed the very easy and norms of the electoral process. And that is where we are. And the fallout of it is high level of insecurity. As a matter of fact, because of all of this in Somalia, ordinary Auchi Polytechnic now with their own student union election. Yeah, feel we see well. Yeah, because the students have learned from the wider society. And so, please let us have a proper review of the process that we are currently enjoying as an electoral process. Let us look inwards. And for Dr. Asue Udalo, this is probably a message to you, sir. You came from the blues to run for this, to become a candidate of the PDP. The Supreme Court judgment did not favor you. The election did not favor. None of the court judgment favored you. I probably would advise you, sir. If you truly love those state people, my advice for you is to hang on and stay with the people. That's my advice for you. And be a critical voice, constructively into the affairs and the governance of Okpebholo. Be in a position. Because it is very common, and I will not be surprised. Yeah, because it's very characteristic of our own process. Tomorrow, many of you will be surprised to hear where Asue Udalo has now decamped to APC. There's some people will argue he spent so much money whenever you collect everywhere because that is the psyche near women. We are collecting everywhere. We have seen that before, and I will not be surprised if it happened this time. But I hope it doesn't, because it also means that it's probably time that we start raising politicians with integrity, irrespective of what I was promised. I stay here. I identify with this, and this is our ideology. Now make it marry. Or I watch a British political system. If you are a Labour Party member, you're a Labour Party member. In most cases, for life. You may protest. Who protests? So you are voting in another political party because you don't like what your party is doing at a particular time, but you remain a Labour Party member. If you are conservative for life. Anywhere, man, you do cross the cabinet, but do cross the cabinet, no making a ticket. Then you don't get that. So I would hope that Asue, stay with the people. It's probably the next one is probably time for the people to get to know who you really are, because I have actually questioned since the election. Apart from where you have delivered judgment, we don't see you. Nobody sees you. You understand? Oshomole, I mean, I see that Okpebholo has gone now to allegedly he has taken a 100 billion loan. What is he going to do with it? Nobody's questioning. Nobody is putting government on our toes. I think you guys now need to start looking at that. And most of all, a pathway to the future that will guarantee people being elected on grounds of credibility, that will guarantee a process that cannot be marred, that will be resisted. Amanamioni, it is very difficult. The future is very bleak. That's why Udalo, where you are a victim of the system, which you also have helped to create. And so I think that your own assignment right now is to be able to look for ways, to recreate the system in line with the statutes, and integrity of what democracy should be as practiced in other climes. If you don't contribute to that, then I have a big way. Those State people, the die is cast. So Okpebholo right now is going to be governor for the next 4 years. So I do think that for now, this is the system. I wasn't. If the election, if this Supreme Court judgment had been different, that's when I would have been surprised. I knew it was going to be like this, anyways. I'm sure everybody sort of knew. Some people were just trying to cling on small hopes here and there. But that said, 4 years, 3 years plus on ruling. I think that right now people should now start taking a critical look at the government and constructively criticize. Like I said, Okpebholo is there. If there's anything I wish above most other things, is that for him to succeed. Because succeed, it means that where those State will have good roads. It will mean that where erosion of our warrior year donor right now or clear. It will mean that where a better health service area, it will mean that where a security of the day improved. So I really wish and hope that the man does well, and also would enjoy everybody to express the same wish. And most of all, I think that for politicians, for opposition parties, and those State people alike, I think it's time to equally start taking a critical look at the government of Okpebholo, and criticize constructively when necessary, because that's what we owe now, and probably start equally thinking of a better pathway in our future elections so that we don't drag ourselves to this point that we are right now. To say more, maybe to talk out of point. If you are the only tie, then God bless you all. I'll see you again when I see you. My name is Comrade Lamdo Raki. Please, if you are there and you can share this broadcast, I will appreciate that. I'll see you again. Bye for now. And on the heels of this judgment, Okpebholo, enjoy your next few years in office and hopefully do well. God bless you all.